Okay, doing a little bit different format for the Discipline Traders Academy podcast today. I'm going to talk about a specific stock. So this will be a video. So if you're listening to it on Apple Podcasts, you won't be able to see the video and see the chart. So you'll want to jump over to the YouTube, the link in the show notes for the YouTube channel, and you can watch it there. But I want to talk about Google, right? Alphabet Incorporated, the parent company of Google. They had quarterly earnings last week, and they had a phenomenal Q1 2025. Passed analyst expectations, shows some growth across its core businesses. So first, let's talk about the key positive highlights from earnings, and then we're going to talk about the chart and whether or not this stock looks good for a long-term investment, a swing trade, or both. So for financial performance for Google, total revenue increased by 12% year over year to $90.2 billion. That is huge. Net income surged 46% to almost $35 billion, or $2.81 per share. They had forecasted $2.01 per share, so they really blew away the expectations. Operating income got a lift as well. What's driving all this for Google? Well, one is the Google Cloud momentum, right? There is revenue growth with their cloud, grew by 28% year over year, and it's now at $12.3 billion. So there's a lot of demand for Google Cloud operations, and they're also seeing profitability increase on Google Cloud as well. Their YouTube is still seeing very strong advertising strength. That grew as well. And there is still heavy search advertising within the YouTube ecosystem. That rose 14% year over year to $46.2 billion. So that was a strong driver for them as well. But I think most importantly for Google, if you're going to look at Google as a long-term investment, right? I think the AI integration and the innovations, which you really have to study. And again, this is not to be taken as financial advice. Do your own research, of course. But, their AI overview, if they've got it in a search, which if they don't, search is going to die out. People are using, whether it's ChatGPT, Grok, or any of the other AI systems as their search engines now, right? So traditional search is definitely coming, in my opinion, to an end of its life cycle. But Google's AI overview and search now reaches over 1.5 billion users monthly. So that continues to grow. And then, of course, their AI tool is the Gemini. So Gemini 2.5, which is their most advanced AI model. They're giving a lot of credit to that for driving growth across various products and services. So, really just overall very good, strong earnings. I think Google still continue to head in the right direction. And the question becomes, do you want to look at this as a long-term investment? Do you want to look at it as a swing trade? Or do you want to look at it as both, depending on if you're managing different portfolios? So, excuse me, looking at the daily chart on Google, obviously, we had the sell-off that started from February 4th and just continuing down. Looks like Google's kind of found a bottom right around here. Got back above this low level of resistance, turned it into support. And with the earnings, had a gap up and hit in this 161, 162 area. You notice that the anchored VWAP going back to the sell-off, right? They touched that anchored VWAP, could not break above it, pulled back. And so we're sitting just below 162 right now. For me, from a swing trade perspective and also from a long-term investment perspective, I like Google if it can get over 162 and potentially even get a daily candle close to really show us that it's going to take this SR flip, right? Resistance turning into support and honor that, right? So it found support here as well. So this is a short-term level of support around the 161, 162 area. So I do like it here from a swing trade and even a long-term entry perspective. When you take a look here, right, you got a decent-sized volume shelf here, but not a whole lot in here. Your next big volume shelf's right up around 190, 191. So if it's able to really make its way up through this gap here, this vacuum, getting up to 190 is definitely feasible. Will it do it before the next quarter? Who knows? No idea. So again, if it's a swing trade for you, if I take it as a swing trade, I'm not going to be carrying it over 90 days. I'm not going to carry it over earnings. However, if you look at Google as a long-term investment, then you're going to ride it through earnings and take the ups and downs with it. So, but what I like about this from a swing trade perspective is you definitely have a 2-to-1 reward to risk ratio, right? You could definitely have a nice type stop loss below support here, right? If it breaks support, you probably want to be out. So you're going to be able to find a nice reward to risk ratio with maybe a 3 or 4% drawdown under this level of support here. And if you decide that, believe that the target up here is around the 190 area, then we absolutely could have a 2-to-1 reward to risk ratio. You flip to a line chart, there's just not a whole lot in here that's going to create resistance. So it's looking pretty good from that perspective. Now, if you want to zoom out a little bit, you get kind of that same picture, right? You got that nice weekly candle, nice big bullish candle, and see if it breaks above, again, the 162 area. So that really does, for me, is the area where I get really interested, is if this stock in the coming week can get above 162. I'm looking at a nice entry there, potentially for a swing trade and potentially in the long-term portfolio as well. What else is driving my analysis on this? Well, it is option flow. As of last week, we did see a tremendous amount of option flow coming into Google. Right now, there's the long-term heavy hitters bought the 155 strike, and they bought leaps. Okay, so they're looking way out, right? So this for them is a long-term investment. They've got July 2027 call options out there, the 155 strike, and they've got 10 million of those. And there's a lot of other call options that have been purchased on Google. But in terms of some really big money, $10 million is a lot of call options. So we're seeing option flow calls come into the stock, which also tells us that there's, hopefully some smart money coming into this, which we can add that to the thesis if you do utilize option flow. And again, you can use option flow and still trade the commons. Nobody says that you have to use option flow and buy options. You can absolutely use option flow as a tool in making a decision about whether or not you want to buy common stock and take the trade from commons perspective, which is typically what I do. I don't trade options hardly ever. So Google's looking good. Take a look at the chart, do your own research, and tell me what you think in the comments. We'd love to have your feedback.